This is an insightful conversation with Robert James, who is the host of the OCD and Anxiety podcast. And he is also an OCD and anxiety coach and has helped a lot of people to improve their overall mental health and improve their anxiety and OCD. So this is actually a view of the walk that we did before the talk, and we dive into it. It's an in-person conversation, and I actually interview him as well for a period in the ice bath, which is interesting. So you're going to want to listen to the whole way through. He's got some amazing points about how you too can improve your overall OCD and anxiety and feel better on the inside. Let's get into it. All right. Ready spaghetti?
Let's do it.
Oh, fantastic. So here with Rob, and we've just been out for a hike now, which has been nice. We're in the sweltering heat. How are you feeling?
Yeah, it's great. It was an awesome hike now, and ready for an ice bath though to cool off.
Yeah, we're going to be getting in the ice bath, and I'll continue this interview with Rob in the ice bath, so stay tuned for that. Ice has been something amazing for both of our journeys, the Wim Hof method to the breathing for mental health. But I'd just like to start at the beginning. Rob, like, when did you first start to experience OCD, and was it brought on by anything?
Yeah, so I think it started for me around about the age of 16. I was probably not the most healthy 16-year-old, probably drinking too much and being a bit unhealthy, but around about that time I started to kind of ruminate a lot and get lost in these endless kind of circular thoughts, and before long it had kind of taken over everything, and I was just spending hours every day kind of lost in these kinds of thoughts, and and it was just gradually getting worse over time, and everything that I was trying to do unfortunately was just making it worse. And at that time there wasn't really much information about OCD. We didn't have Instagram, TikTok, and people doing OCD therapists doing things online to raise awareness about these kinds of problems. So it was quite difficult to kind of navigate that time, not knowing what it was.
Starting at 16, and then what was something that you did it come on just randomly? Did you have it before that, or was there anything that sparked it to happen more?
Yeah, I think it was something that I've always had this predisposition towards overthinking things, over analyzing things, and I think that's something that's always been with me. As to where exactly it started, like I kind of said earlier, I wasn't being that healthy. Maybe I was, smoking a little bit, marijuana and this kind of stuff, and that didn't help either. So it's hard to pinpoint. I wouldn't say it was one particular thing, but more a collection of things, at that time that kind of kick-started the process of rumination. Yeah. And rumination is the thing. I think it's the main compulsion that people struggle with OCD, and so often people don't know that the rumination is actually a compulsion. We tend to think that by ruminating we're actually beginning to solve the problem, or we're going to get to the bottom of it and figure it out. But of course we can never do that, because it's not actually about figuring something out. It's about learning to trust in our bodies again, and learning to be comfortable with the uncomfortable emotions that our bodies are giving us when we face these difficult things.
And so for yourself, and what do you tell other people in your coaching work as well, when intrusive thoughts pop up, what's some key things that people can do, or you like to do as well, when these ruminating thoughts, when we become more aware of them, okay, that's OCD?
Yeah, well, there's a number of different things that you can do. I think one of the most important things is to kind of learn to come back into your body. As I kind of mentioned just before, we tend to get stuck in our heads. And being in the head is the worst place that you can be.
Yeah.
So you want to find a way to kind of come back into your body. And one of the ways that you can do that is through kind of mindful meditation practices, but that are more somatic in nature. So you can kind of close your eyes, you can focus on your breath for a few breaths, and then you can start this process of exploring, okay, what am I actually feeling underneath this rumination? Where am I feeling it in the body? Are the sensations the same? Are they moving? Is the intensity increasing or decreasing? If I focus on it, does that impact it? And it's really about becoming curious about these body sensations. Basically what we're doing most of the time is when we feel anxiety, our initial reaction is to ruminate, to try to find the solution. And actually what we need to do instead is just to tune into the body and actually, accept those feelings. And this is really alien for people at first, because it's the opposite of what we want to do. What we want to do is get rid of it, understandably, because the feelings are very difficult sometimes. And this is why with this kind of work, I think it needs to be done in a gradual way. You can't just jump into the deep end with this. And for some people, just tuning into those emotions, difficult ones, can be too much. Sometimes it might be better actually to try to generate positive emotions, bring to mind something positive, something that makes you feel happy, and then focus on how that feels in the body.
Right.
So that you can begin to get used to those sensations.
Right.
Obviously it's about learning to feel all of the different emotions and how they feel in the body. And to accept them and to not cling or to not push away.
Right.
To just be accepting.
Okay.
And allow them to come and go. And when you can start doing that, I think, things begin to change.
It's a good point, because, I know for the OCD I experience as well, it is so heady. It's just this like going around in the head, and you could be sitting there chatting to somebody, but then thoughts just popping up, but changing the focus and the awareness to coming back to the body. But you find some people that you've worked with, it's too much. First of all, going into those, like feeling those negative emotions. So feeling the positive ones first. Absolutely, yeah. For some people, it's incredibly hard. They've been dealing with those negative emotions for a long time by pushing them away. Yeah. And so if we just suddenly say, right, you've got to feel it, and close your eyes and just go straight into it, I think it can be overwhelming.
Yeah, for some people. So it depends. Each person is different. Yeah. And it's about I think everything that we do with this kind of stuff, we need to be doing it in a mindful and gentle way. There's no need to jump into the deep end. Yeah. Something else that you can do, which we're going to be doing today anyway, for acceptance, is obviously the Wim Hof method. Yeah. So going into the ice is a fantastic way to work on acceptance, because most people understand intellectually what we mean by acceptance. I mean, if you read any modern books on anxiety, they're going to be talking about acceptance, that's for sure. And we hear it all the time, but sometimes it's a bit annoying when you hear people talking about acceptance, because maybe you've read about it, but you don't really know how to apply it properly. And so it's frustrating when you hear people say, well, just accept it. And it's like, well, how do I actually do that? And actually the ice offers you an opportunity to practice acceptance in an experiential way, so that you can actually go into that freezing cold water, and you are going to have you're going to panic. There's something called cold shock, which is when you get into the water, your body reacts, your heart rate increases, you want to breathe quicker, and you kind of feel like you want to get the hell out of that ice bath. You do not want to stay in there, understandably. But if you are able to just stay and remain in that situation and relax and try to breathe. Actually, what you can do is you can begin to experience, this is acceptance.
Yeah.
And so you start to get an experiential understanding of what acceptance actually is. And of course, once you practice that on a regular basis, you can start applying that to other difficult life experiences and emotions. When you're actually experiencing anxiety, okay, I need to bring the acceptance to it.
Yeah.
This is how I can do it. Slow my breathing down, try to allow the discomfort. Something that we do when we're in the ice now is actually trying to feel the pain. Hands and feet are often areas where you get a lot of pain in the ice cold water, and so if you can actually focus your attention on those areas more and try to just feel that pain a bit more, it allows you to kind of change that experience of pain. And again, you get this experiential understanding of, okay, this is acceptance.
Yeah, such a good point. And with intrusive thoughts as well, oftentimes we're trying to go back to the most comfortable feeling, like, okay, I'm gonna do the compulsion to make myself feel less anxiety in the body. And like you say, doing the ice is a good way to accept that feeling, and then to utilize that when we're trying to not do our compulsions is super powerful as well. Saying like, okay, no, I'm going to accept this uncomfortable feeling in the body. Like when we're in the ice, I'm going to accept that it's uncomfortable. I'm going to breathe. And the win here is if I don't buy into the compulsion. If I don't do the compulsion, then that's more of a win.
Absolutely. I mean, it's very easy when you're in the ice to kind of fight against the cold. And that would be a compulsion, to push away the cold, to say, or just even step out the ice bath altogether.
Yeah.
Would also be, a compulsion. A compulsion effectively is anything that we do to try to reduce the emotional intensity of difficult emotions like anxiety. And so, you can actually learn about not performing those compulsions whilst you're in the ice. So it's a pretty amazing technique that you can use to help you with OCD.
Totally.
Should we give it a go?
Let's do it. We're gonna get in there.
Yeah.
So what Rob's doing now is slowing down the breath, focusing on it, taking longer exhales to calm down the nervous system, because it's a stressful thing hopping into the ice. To calm down the nervous system, move more into the parasympathetic, the rest and digest. To accept the feeling of the ice and the cold.
Feeling good.
So you were just slowing down the breath before. How do you feel now in the ice?
Yeah, I mean, so it's always the same. It's the first minute is the hardest thing. When you first get in, your body is kind of screaming at you to get the hell out. And you have to kind of, just as I was just doing, just breathe slowly, take your time, and know that discomfort will pass in time.
Yeah.
If you can just allow it. So, you get through to this, it's been about 1.5 minutes now, and you really begin to relax into it. And, of course, it's still painful. So my hands and my feet are really hurting, but, I'm trying to work on that acceptance as I'm doing this. I'm trying to just allow that discomfort and that pain to be there. And, this is exactly what I was talking about. When you do this on a fairly regular basis, even just with having a cold shower in winter, that's, oftentimes even harder than having an ice bath. But you do develop that acceptance. And you can apply it to OCD and other like mental health challenges. So it's one of the best things I think I've come across for building acceptance.
What are the other key things that you've done? So you just said ICE has been one of the best things that you've done to work on that acceptance. What are some of the other things? Like if you could go back and talk to your 16-year-old self and say, hey, here's 5 things that I recommend you do for this journey that you're going to take in the future with OCD, what would be the top sort of 5 or so things that you'd recommend?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I think like number 1, it's kind of self-compassion. So recognizing the fact that you don't need to be perfect, you can make mistakes. OCD so often is about perfectionism. We want to be 100% sure about things. We don't want to have any uncertainty. And unfortunately, that's a completely unrealistic way to live your life. And so, self-compassion, very, very important. Physical exercise, incredibly important. We know so much research that's been done that shows that exercise can be just as helpful, or if not more helpful, than antidepressants when it comes to anxiety and depression, other mental health challenges. But it comes without the terrible side effects. So that's a really important one as well. Something that, for me today, I'm just, every other day I'm exercising, and it's like an insurance policy. Something else that's very important is breath work. And not just meditation. I mean, meditation is part of it. Meditation is very helpful if you can get into the habit of doing that. But to be honest, for some people, meditation is really hard. If you struggle with attention and focus, it can be very difficult. It can be very difficult to motivate yourself to do it, to just sit still. Breath work, like the Wim Hof method, for example, it's more active. That can be very helpful. Just the fact that it's more active, it's a bit easier for active people, I think, to do. But also there's kind of other types of breath work as well, where you're really slowing your breath down, almost like I was doing a bit earlier in the ice here. Slowing your breath right down, taking much longer and deeper breaths. This changes your state. It puts you into a much more parasympathetic nervous response, and that means that automatically you're going to feel more calm. You've gone into a kind of rest and digest mode. So that's very important. So I definitely tell my 16-year-old self to work on that. I think something else that is very important is obviously acceptance that we've talked about, but also just the general mindset, that you're going to come across problems. Things are going to be difficult sometimes. You're going to have cycles of days or weeks where things don't go your way and you are feeling crap, and that's okay. It doesn't have to be going exactly to plan all the time. It's just when things are going a bit south, it's just to keep plugging away. Keep doing the things that you need to do. Keep doing the exercise, keep doing breath work, keep eating well. Keep working on the acceptance. Do exposure work, which probably leads into my last one, which is, keep trying to do things that you find push you out of your comfort zone. You don't need to push yourself incredibly hard. You don't have to do the hardest thing and start with that, but try to, each day if you can, find something that you don't want to do and do it. Or if there's something that you're avoiding, see if you can gradually start to build up to doing that. This is exposure work effectively. And exposure work is proven scientifically to really help people with OCD. It can be done in lots of different ways. It can be done in a kind of planned way with a therapist or a coach, or it can be done more in an opportunistic way as you go through your day. If there's something that comes up that you notice you're avoiding, but that you know you really should do, like speaking up or asking a question in front of a group of people, or I don't know, whatever it could be, you're avoiding it. Try to get yourself to do it. Start gently, but that's very important. For a long time I avoided things, and that doesn't help at all. So that's an important one too.
Epic, mate. I think your 16-year-old self would be, with those epic tools, in a lot better stead for his journey.
Absolutely.
Those are some really, really good tools. Thanks for sharing. And where can people find you to learn more about what you do, and if they want to sign up for coaching as well on OCD?
Absolutely, yeah. So you can head over to my website, which is www.robertjamescoaching.com. You can send me a message there, or you can book a free session on my Calendly, or you can head over to Instagram. My Instagram handle is at robertjamescoaching UK. So yeah, please do get in touch if you're interested.
And your podcast?
Of course,
very popular podcast. Yeah.
The podcast is you'll find it everywhere. It's the OCD and Anxiety Podcast by Robert James Coaching.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, mate. Cheers.